Basic arts? Quinn read. Does this mean there are stronger vampire martial arts out there? This time, the tutorial was unlocked when Quinn had learned the vampire martial arts, so perhaps there was a tutorial skill related to it. Yes, Vex replied. These are only the basics. I can perform at a level above what I showed you, obviously, but I honestly wouldn't be good enough to teach them to you. If you want to learn some more, you're better off getting a real teacher to show you. While the two of them were busy practicing inside the private server, they were unaware of what was happening elsewhere in the game. Zombie P winner. A few people in the crowd were currently watching a particular student play the VR game. Each of them had lost the matches, but found the fights a little strange, so they opted to watch the next few games. New match has been found. A new game had started, and once again, the student they had their eye on was going up against a level 3 telekinesis user. The telekinesis user had several black balls attached around his chest, while his opponent had no weapons at all. Standing on the opposite side was Peter. He didn't look like his usual self, as he was slightly disguised by the avatar, although he selected a pretty basic default design that had a randomly generated face with a few scraps of clothing. The fight had begun. Peter rushed forward. At the same time, the telekinesis user threw out the metallic balls using his ability to speed them up. Peter, however, was fast and was able to dodge most of the incoming attacks, and the few that he couldn't, he knocked away with his hand. Eventually, one of the metallic balls came at great speed and managed to hit Peter in the center of his shin, smashing and breaking it in half, causing him to fall to the ground. The telekinesis user calmly walked over to Peter, thinking it was all over. He had taken out one of his opponent's legs, and no movement would mean the end. However, the others watching from the stand knew it wasn't the end for Peter. They had all thought the same thing while fighting against Peter. Suddenly, after a few moments, Peter was able to stand up again, as if the attack had never hit his leg in the first place. He immediately ran towards his opponent. Eventually, when he was close enough, Peter pounced on top of his opponent and widely swung his fists towards his head. There was no class and no style with Peter's attacks. It was like one of a wild animal. Winner, Zombie P. Each of the opponents Peter had gone against had witnessed his impressive regenerative abilities. Still, some people were suspicious, since Peter also seemed to have impressive strength and speed on top of his healing powers. As the game had ended just outside the VR pod, Logan was finally waking up from his nap. As he slowly opened his eyes and looked around the room, he noticed that Peter wasn't there. "Peter!" Logan said as he rushed over to the computer and immediately logged in. It was as he thought. Peter had not logged into the private server to play, but instead had logged into the military servers. Quickly, Logan brought up a log of Peter's past games, hoping he hadn't done anything to stand out. He had already received a few emails from admins, asking to look into the user ID of Zombie P, making sure it wasn't a hacked player, since there had been a few complaints made online. "I guess your fame online will be a short one, Peter. The world cannot learn of you just yet." With that, Logan forcefully disconnected Peter from the online world. However, it was a little too late, as some of Peter's amazing regenerative power videos had already been spread online. Meanwhile, in another military base, a certain group of boys had also managed to watch the videos that had been posted. "Did you see?" Sam asked. "Yeah, looks like there will be a lot of interesting people at the intermilitary base event," Nate replied with a big smile. Inside the training hall in one of the military bases, Nate and Sam were training. They often went to other planets to support the base military in their endeavors. However, as of the moment, the second-year students were to remain at their bases for the time being, under the upcoming interbase military event. It was an event that required all of the 8 military bases to enter. It was a competition among the bases. The military bases would compete to see who had raised the best and strongest students. The event was important for the military bases and their leaders, since they would often get more funding and privileges based on the performance shown during their participation. The two of them were in the room. Sam was reading a level 6 ability book that was placed on the floor. Sam had his eyes closed for a while now, meditating. All of a sudden, a burning sensation arose in his chest, promptly stopping him from what he was doing. The burning ache that Sam felt in his heart meant that he had reached his limit. Thus, pushing his body any further could be dangerous. Nate said with a cheery tone in his voice, trying to ease Sam's worries. "All we need to do is get you some good beast gear that suits your ability. Also, we can always work on your skills." Meanwhile, inside the school's IT room, Silver was currently standing above one of the school's staff members. The reflection from the screen displayed that his eyes had a slight red tint to them, meaning that he was under Silver's control. Right now, she was searching for the school files regarding a student named Fex. "Oh, you stupid little boy," Silver said out loud. The file was found, and it seemed like Fex had used his real name. Although this was good news for her, it wasn't long until the interbase military event, and she would be able to make her move to bring Fex home. "Hopefully you haven't caused too much trouble yet." It appeared like everyone was busy, dead set on doing their own thing. Because of this, Vorden found the situation a little boring. If he was left on his own accord, there were only two people who he could talk to, although they seemed to be a bad influence on him. "Hey, do you think we can trust her?" Rayton shouted as he asked. "We knew something was up, and it looks like we were right, working for Pure. Who knows what she's already told them?" "They could be after Quinn," Syl said while continuing to rock back and forth. "Guys, will you all just calm down?" Vorden hollered, annoyed by his companion's complaints. "What about the next portal outing?" Rayton queried. "What if she plans to make her next move then? We need to find her real goal." "Fine," Vorden replied, giving in to the idea. He knew firsthand that if he didn't do something, Rayton would continue down this path, and eventually he would get Syl worried. "Then I will go talk to Layla." Thus, Vorden went to the dorms to visit Layla. Upon knocking on the door, a female student answered it. The most prominent feature of the lady was her short black hair, with a fringe that cascaded her face, nearly covering the entirety of her right eye. Her name was Sia, and she was the third person who occupied Aaron and Layla's room. "Is Layla there?" Vorden asked. "Are you her boyfriend?" Sia said as she scanned Vorden's body from head to toe. "I'm guessing you two had an argument or something, judging how she's been since yesterday. Or maybe it was the fact that she found out her best friends were terrorists, but she's not here." This was the explanation the school had given, that 8 students had been found with connections to the group known as Pure and were taken to the dungeon as a form of punishment. "Look, if you want to find Layla, she's usually by the back of the building, sitting on the bench just underneath the large tree. She and Aaron often went there together," Sia said. With that piece of information, Vorden left without saying another word. As he turned the corner, he indeed saw someone sitting alone on a bench right underneath a tree. "Vorden, what do you want?" Layla asked in a rude tone. She had just lost her best friend, and the last person she wanted to see was standing right before her eyes. "I think we need to talk about whether or not I can trust you," Vorden asked. Layla interrupted Vorden. "I was in Pure this whole time before everything started. The only difference now is that you guys know about it. That hasn't changed who I am, and let me ask you, aren't you going around accusing me all the time? But what about you? Why do you care so much about Quinn?" At this point, Layla had stood up from the bench and was starting to inch closer to Vorden. "If she takes one more step closer to us, Vorden, and you don't do anything about it, I swear," Rayton said, his tone a tad threatening. "Shut up!" Vorden shouted as he grabbed his head. "Layla, I need to trust you. If I can't trust you, then I'm afraid of what will happen to you." "Then tell me, Vorden, what can I do to prove I'm on your side?" she asked. Fortunately, Vorden had prepared an answer to this question. "Let Quinn turn you into a vampire. That way, I know that you're on his side." Layla's anger bubbled at such a question. Why couldn't he do it as well? He could get turned too. And yet, despite wanting to ask such a question about why he couldn't do the same, she already knew the answer. It was the loss of Vorden's ability. His skills were versatile, which was a great help to them on several occasions. While for her, it didn't mean much. Her powers were quite weak, only being a level 2. "I want to go to Vorden, but it's too risky right now," she replied. "If I go off the radar, stop reporting to Pure and choose to be by Quinn's side, they could run an investigation. They would then look into me, send higher-ups, and then Quinn would be in even more trouble," Layla explained. "When the time is right, I promise I will be by Quinn's side." The school no longer searched for the missing students. After doing a sweep of the school, it looked like none of the students had seen Peter or Aaron. In the end, they deemed that the video that had been sent must have been true, and they were too late. With the help of Leo, they were able to gain access to the portal room once again. Leo was able to sneak Peter into the room, and with him, several of Logan's mechanical little spiders. Logan pressed a key on his keyboard. At the same time, in a different location, in the school's security office, a signal was detected. Hayley soon came along with Faye to check who had made the signal. "That's one of the missing students!" Faye shouted as soon as she saw Peter. She had recognized him since she had dealt with their case files. "Quick, Hayley takes him to the medical facility. We need to give him a full health checkup. This is the first bit of good news we have had in quite a while." Right inside Logan's room, Quinn and the entire group were standing with a smile, which soon turned into one of horror as they heard those words.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.